Hello, I'm Ed Reed, the editor of E-FWD, and I'm delighted to welcome Carmen Velasco and John Fotherby of Kingsfield Academy today. Thanks for joining me, Carmen, John. Let's get stuck straight in. Carmen, are we thinking about the energy transition in the wrong ways? And I suppose, what are the opportunities that you think we might be missing?
Well, I don't know if we are thinking about energy transition in the wrong way, but what I know for sure is that there is, I predicted 70% increase in construction output that we have to meet, and there is no resources for everything, including energy transition. So we need to be thinking, we need to be doing something different. We need to be thinking what changes we need to do.
John, what sort of changes do we need to do?
Well, I think we have to rethink engineering construction because, as Carmen says, there's this massive increase. McKinsey reported on that in 2024, 70%. They also talked about a real stagnant productivity issue that's far below any other industries. It's not improved at all. There's a massive shortage of resources across the world. And I think that what's happening now is that what was conventional engineering, construction and infrastructure, McKinsey have redefined infrastructure to cover many more things, the IT systems and so on. So it's a different world that we're operating in. And I think that we need to try and recruit more people, and across the world, this is a problem because engineering construction is not a fun game to be in for most people. And disappointingly, really, because they got it wrong. But the fact is that it's very difficult to recruit people, particularly younger people. And there's a massive wastage in what we do in the industry, right from the beginning. People talk about productivity as if it was a construction problem. It's not. It's a project problem, and it starts right at the beginning, and we gradually waste resources that we don't have. So that's the problem.
So I suppose, so maybe if you could break it down for me, how have we done it in the past, I suppose, and what needs to change? What do we need to think about in order to deliver this sort of productivity?
So I think that we have published in Energy Voice on the 25th of September an article about collaboration, and there we talk about genuine collaboration between project delivery stakeholders, and we think that the greatest potential to ensure effective and economic utilization of resources is through and definitely improve levels of productivity and shorter the delivery time and the lower cost. It's through a collaborative approach. And what does this mean? Is basically it's making the owners, the investors, the employers engage with the designers, the contractors, logistic organizations, key vendors, manufacturers, fabricators, even financiers from the outset of the project and involve them all. And so it's not just about say, well, let's collaborate once the contract is signed. It's starting from the beginning.
I suppose sort of drilling into that kind of question of collaboration, I feel like it's the sort of thing, it's lovely to talk, all right, it feels really good to talk about, but I wonder, how do you get people to kind of come together in ways that, I suppose, sometimes these people are competing, they're obviously sort of, looking at their own margins, they're sort of looking at, profits, and it quite often feels sort of zero sum, doesn't it? What do people need to do to move past that?
Yes. So it's not only about saying, yes, we will collaborate. It's way more than that. It's changing your mindset. It's changing everything. It's changing from the beginning the way you think about your project and how you think about the rest of the stakeholders. So instead of focusing on me against you, is focusing about the project outcomes and to basically focus on sharing risk in a way more equitable way, sharing or give the risk to the party that is more or that is able to manage properly, and where actions of preservation of self interest are replaced by actions that contribute to a joint successful of the contract, and where what is important is the value creation and not that much the cost.
Yeah, you see, if we look at the way that conventional projects have been set up, there's the notion that for an owner, a lump sum price is security for the cost of the job. It's a complete myth. But if you think about the way that we set them up, an owner appoints a designer and other consultants right at the beginning of the job to help them get the thing off the ground. That might lead to a PMC being involved to manage it. Eventually, they go into a lump sum bid process. It's a competitive bid. Usually the lowest price wins out. We don't tend to look at value too much at that point. That contractor who's appointed then appoints vendors and transportation companies, logistics, other vendors, subcontractors, and so on. And all of those organisations then subcontract them down, usually to the party with the least amount of money and capability of managing the risks it's taken on board. Do you wonder that a lot of projects fail? And what happens each time is that consumes people, because there's a management team for each layer, and you might have between 7 and 9 layers. And each of those layers tends to put on margin. So you get margin on margin, and the investors are talking about cost. Well, they should look at where that cost is incurred. If you go to a more collaborative approach, then you cut out a lot of that margin on margin. Not all of it, because you're going to have to appoint people who are going to then appoint contractors. The important thing is that you improve the communication between the stakeholders that Carmen's just referred to, and in particular the decision making. You have one team that's working together. You bring the contractors who are going to build the thing and the key vendors into that team right at the beginning, and that gives you the opportunity to innovate in the construction methodologies. There's plenty out there. I mean, I'm not going to go into that now. There's loads of things that's happening that improve performance, but it's only going to really improve if you get everybody together at a time when they can make decisions that actually can be implemented for the benefit of the project. It's a lot about time.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it, and it sounds like, obviously, I mean, obviously here in the UK, we're sort of thinking about 2030 for clean power, and it feels like there's a kind of like a time crunch, which kind of presumably is a kind of increases that kind of question of pressure and risk and all these other things, and makes it that much harder to deliver.
Yeah, absolutely. But you see, people tend to think about it being an engineering problem. If you look at the wind farms and the amount of supply that comes from outside the UK, which is significant, and the rest of the world is also pursuing wind farms, then those suppliers are going to be stretched. So there's going to be a supply chain blockage somewhere. And it's not just on the, it covers all the aspects. There's a massive demand. There's a lack of resource. We're not handling it efficiently is the outcome.
I wonder, how do you go about changing the way in which industry operates? Is it a question of, does industry take those steps itself? Is it sort of a top down? Does the regulator kind of get together and sort of knock heads together?
It has to come from the owner investors. There's no question about that. It's their money, it's their projects. There's a big difference between the contractors and the owners in terms of interest in the project, because the contractors earn the money from doing the job. The owners earn their money from operating the thing. So there's a bit of a clash there, but if they can work together and be supportive of each other, each of the different parties benefit. And therefore it's a realisation there's a better way to do things than what we've been doing so far for the benefit of everybody that's involved.
And John, what can Kingsfield do to help drive this change to try and capture some of this this kind of newfound collaboration?
Well, we've developed a program with 4 modules, which basically looks at the collaborative process. It looks at compares collaborative contracts with conventional contracts to see where those differences are and how they have to manage differently. And it looks at a different project management model, which is agile instead of waterfall. And the 4th one is really about negotiating in this different environment of energy transition. And that's open to people to just simply look, give it a try, see whether this will work for you. If it does, fine. If you don't like it, don't do it.
Perfect. And Carmen, just on that question of sort of, I suppose, doing things better for everybody involved, what do you see as, who takes that first step?
As John was saying, I think that the first step needs to come probably from the employer and the financiers. I think where the money comes is where the beginning is the beginning of the change. Otherwise, and obviously this party needs to find a good partner on the other side. Not all the contractors are willing to go this route. So it's an effort, it's an approach that everyone involved needs to actually agree and go really for it. If one party is not ready for that, then we just rather stay in the conventional way of doing things. But if all the parties involved want to really give it a try, proper, then I think that's when the chances to succeed are higher.
Well, anything we can do to make those chances of success, better, I think would certainly be something we should all be thinking about, shouldn't it? But listen, Carmen, John, thank you so much for taking the time to share your thoughts today. Really appreciate it. Really interesting insights into how we should be doing construction better. But for today, I've been Ed Reed, the editor of E-FWD, where we're always moving the conversation forwards.